Beloved ones, I see you every morning sitting on your verandas in your comfortable chairs, waiting for a piece of paper. You call it the newspaper. To me, it is a miracle of human stupidity that you pay someone to bring you the garbage of the whole world every single morning. Before you have even looked at the sun, before you have even greeted the birds, before you have even looked into the eyes of your beloved, you are deep in the mud of what happened in Vietnam, what happened in Washington, what murder took place in some dark alley of a city you will never visit. I say to you, watching the news or reading the newspaper is exactly like eating someone else's vomit. Someone else has seen something, they have chewed on it with their own prejudices, they have digested it through their own political biases, and then they have vomited it onto a page. And you, with great hunger, sit there and consume it. Why? Why are you so interested in the pathological? Why are you so obsessed with the rotten? This is what I call mental rape. Your mind is a delicate, sensitive instrument. And every time you open that newspaper or turn on that television, you are allowing the world to rape your consciousness. You are allowing the noise of the marketplace to enter into the temple of your being. Now listen carefully. This is a journey we are taking together. If you find that my words are waking something up inside you, if you feel a resonance in your heart, then I invite you to hit that like button. It is not for me. It is a signal to the universe that you are ready to listen. And it helps this message reach other sleeping souls who are still drowning in the noise of the news. The mind is a very strange mechanism. It lives on information, but it dies in wisdom. Information is always of the other. Wisdom is always of yourself. When you read the newspaper, you are gathering information about others. What did this politician say? What did that criminal do? You become a collector of dead facts. And the more information you have, the more you think you know. But you know nothing. You only know about. You don't know. Knowledge is a burden. It is like carrying a bag of stones and thinking they are diamonds. The newspaper is the Bible of the ignorant. It is the Gita of the unconscious. People are so bored with their own lives, so utterly empty within, that they need the news to fill the gap. If you were full of your own light, if you were dancing with your own inner music, would you care what some man in a suit said on a screen? You wouldn't even hear it. But because you are a hollow bamboo, you want the wind of the world to pass through you, even if that wind is foul and carries the scent of death. In these talks, especially when we look at the discipline of transcendence, Buddha says something very beautiful. He says that the person who is moving toward the other side must first learn to be still. But how can you be still when your head is filled with the wars of the world? You are sitting in meditation, trying to find silence, but inside your head, a riot is going on. Why? Because you invited the riot in this morning when you read the front page. You are trying to pray, but the ghost of a politician is making a speech in your brain. You have become a junkyard. My work here is to help you clean that junkyard. We are creating a community of seekers, a caravan of the conscious. If you want to support this work, if you want to ensure that this flame of truth keeps burning, I invite you to look at our join button. Becoming a member of this channel is not just a financial gesture. It is an act of joining the commune. It is saying, I am part of this vision. And for those who feel a deep gratitude, the super thanks is a beautiful way to share your energy and help us reach more people who are being mentally raped by the system. You see, the news is a form of poison because it focuses only on the negative. Have you ever seen a newspaper headline that says, "A beautiful flower bloomed this morning in a small garden"? No, no one would buy that paper. Have you ever seen a news anchor say, "Today, a man sat in silence for 1 hour and felt the presence of God"? No, that is not news. News must be a catastrophe. News must be a conflict. The news exists only because you are pathological. You are interested in the accident, not in the safe journey. You are interested in the divorce, not in the love. This interest shows your inner state. You are looking for a reflection of your own inner chaos in the world. When you see a world in flames, you feel a strange relief. I am not the only one who is miserable. The whole world is going to hell. This gives your ego a certain comfort. It is a very sick way to live. I want you to drop this habit. For 1 week, try a simple experiment. Don't touch the newspaper. Don't turn on the news. Don't look at the trending topics on your phone. Just for 1 week, you will feel a strange withdrawal symptom, just like a drug addict. You will feel like you are missing something, like the world is moving on without you. But after 3 or 4 days, a strange thing will happen. You will start feeling a certain coolness in your eyes. You will start feeling a certain lightness in your head. The noise will start to subside. This is the beginning of meditation. Meditation is nothing but a deep cleaning of the mind. In the book Meditation, the First and Last Freedom, I have given many techniques to help you with this. And if you want to go deeper, our e-books are available to guide you step by step through this process of inner detoxification. Don't just listen to me, experiment. Be a scientist of your own soul. The news is designed to keep you in fear. And fear is the greatest tool of the priest and the politician. A man in fear can be controlled. A man in fear will follow anyone who promises him safety. But a man of meditation has no fear. He knows that he is part of the eternal. He knows that he was never born and will never die. Such a man is dangerous to the establishment. They want you to stay glued to the news because the news keeps you small. It keeps you shivering. It keeps you worried about the future. If you are worried about the Third World War, you will never worry about your own inner silence. If you are worried about the economy, you will never worry about the poverty of your soul. This is a distraction. The whole society is a giant conspiracy to keep you from yourself. And the newspaper is the most effective weapon in their arsenal. It is a daily dose of hypnosis. They tell you what is important and you believe them. They tell you who is the hero and who is the villain and you repeat it. You have lost your own eyes. You are seeing through the eyes of the editor, through the eyes of the owner of the media house. Reclaim your eyes. Reclaim your ears. If you have something to say about this, if you have felt this mental rape in your own life, leave a comment below. Let us start a conversation that is not about the news, but about the truth. Share this video with those friends of yours who are still eating the vomit every morning. Help them wake up. I have heard a story. A man was sitting in a cafe, intensely reading the newspaper. His friend came and asked, "What are you reading so carefully?" The man said, "I am reading about the terrible state of the world. It says here that everything is collapsing. The morality is gone, the weather is ruined, the politicians are corrupt, and we are on the verge of total destruction. The friend asked, "And what are you going to do about it?" The man said, "I am going to turn to page 2 and see if there is a better world there." This is your situation. You think by changing the channel or by reading a different newspaper, you will find something better. But it is the same vomit, just a different flavor. The problem is not the news. The problem is your need for the news. This need arises because you don't know how to be alone. You don't know how to be in silence. You are afraid of the nothingness that you will find if you close your eyes. So you fill that nothingness with the somethingness of the world. But that somethingness is all junk. It is all Maya. It is all a dream. Buddha says that the world is a funeral pyre. Everything is burning. Your body is burning. Your desires are burning. The world is burning. If you are reading the news while you are on the funeral pyre, you are a very strange person. You should be looking for the water to put out the fire, not reading about who else is burning. The water is meditation. The water is awareness. When I speak of awareness, I mean a state where you are a witness. You can watch the news, but you are not affected by it. You can see the newspaper, but you don't eat the vomit. You remain a lotus in the mud. But to reach that state of being a witness, you must first learn to disconnect. You must first learn to say no to the garbage. You are so careful about what you put into your stomach. If someone offered you rotten food, you would be angry. If someone tried to feed you literal vomit, you would fight them. But you are not at all careful about what you put into your mind. The mind is far more important than the stomach. What goes into the stomach is excreted in 24 hours. But what goes into the mind becomes part of your subconscious. It stays there for years, for lifetimes. It colors your dreams. It dictates your moods. It shapes your personality. Every piece of news you consume is a seed. If you plant seeds of violence, seeds of fear, seeds of greed, don't be surprised when your life becomes a jungle of misery. My effort here is to help you plant seeds of silence, seeds of celebration, seeds of love. That is why I ask you to subscribe to this channel, not for numbers, but to create a garden. Every time we post a video, it is a chance to water the right seeds. I have seen people who cannot even go to the bathroom without a newspaper. It has become a biological necessity. They cannot sit with themselves for 5 minutes. They need the other. This addiction to the other is the root of all your problems. Whether the other is a woman, a man, a drug, or a newspaper, the addiction is the same. It is a flight from yourself. I want to pull you back to yourself. I want to tell you that there is nothing more interesting in this whole universe than your own inner being. All the news of the world is pale compared to the news that arrives when your third eye opens. All the headlines of the world are silent compared to the Om that resounds in your heart when you hit the center of your existence. But you are looking in the wrong direction. You are looking at the screen. You are looking at the paper. Turn around. This 180-degree turn is what I call the Great Revolution. This is the psychology of the esoteric. It is not about analyzing the mind. It is about going beyond the mind. The news is for the mind. Silence is for the soul. Think about it. When you die, will it matter who won the election in 2024? When you are on your deathbed, will you care about the stock market crash of 10 years ago? No. In that moment, all the news will vanish like a mist. Only one thing will remain. How much have you lived? How much have you loved? How much have you known yourself? If the answer is 0, then your whole life was just a long session of reading the newspaper. You lived in a dream and you are dying in a dream. I don't want that for you. I want you to wake up now, while there is still time. The politicians are always talking about great news. But have you noticed? The news never changes. It is the same story with different names. 5,000 years of history is nothing but a repetition of the same stupidity. War after war, treaty after treaty, and then war again. If you have seen one day of news, you have seen all of history. Why keep watching? It is a loop. It is a merry-go-round of madness. Jump off. Jump off the merry-go-round. Stop being a consumer of misery. Start being a creator of joy. And you can only create joy if you have joy. You can only have joy if you find the source of joy within you. The newspaper tells you that the world is a dangerous place. I tell you that the world is a beautiful place. But you are too busy reading the newspaper to see it. You are walking past a rose bush while reading about a terrorist attack. You have missed the rose and you have gained a headache. This is a bad bargain. I want you to be rich. Not just with money. Money is okay. It has its place. But rich in consciousness. To be rich in consciousness, you must stop spending your energy on the trivial. The news is the ultimate triviality. It is new for a moment and then it is old. It has no eternal value. Seek the eternal. Seek that which never changes. Seek the truth that Buddha found, that Jesus found, that I have found. This truth is not found in the headlines. It is found in the gaps between your thoughts. It is found in the silence between two words. As we continue this talk, I will show you exactly how to find those gaps. I will show you how to protect yourself from this mental rape. But before we go further, I want to thank everyone who has supported this channel through the super thanks. Your contributions allow us to keep this content free from the news-like advertisements and maintain the purity of this space. And don't forget to check out our ebooks. They are the result of years of working with people like you, helping them move from the marketplace of the mind to the temple of the spirit. Let us dive deeper now. Let us look at why the mind is so attracted to the poison. Why do you like the smell of the vomit? There is a reason for it, a very deep psychological reason. Your ego lives on it. The ego is a beggar. It needs food. And the news is the junk food of the ego. When you read about a great man falling, your ego feels a little taller. When you read about a disaster, your ego feels a certain survivor's pride. I am still here. I am safe. This is how the ego maintains itself. It compares, it competes, it judges. The news gives you 1,000 things to judge every day. You can sit in your room and judge the whole world. You can say this president is a fool, this actor is a sinner, and by judging them, you feel superior. This superiority is a delusion. It is a way to avoid looking at your own foolishness, your own sins. It is a projection. The world is a mirror. What you see in the news is often what you are hiding in your own shadow. The collective unconscious of humanity is full of violence. That is why the news is full of violence. The media only provides what you demand. If you stopped buying the vomit, they would stop selling it. You are the one who creates the market. You are the one who finances the mental rape. So the change must begin with you, not with the media, not with the government, with you. We will explore the Eightfold Way of Buddha and how it applies to our modern world of information overloads. We will look at right awareness and how to filter the world so that only the beautiful, the true, and the good can enter your heart. Stay with me, not just as a listener, but as a participant in this awakening. The mind is a mirror, but you have covered it with so much dust from the newspaper that it no longer reflects the truth. You have become a collector of opinions. You don't have a single thought of your own. Everything you think is something you have gathered from the outside. If you said democracy is good, is that your own realization? Have you lived it? Or did you just read it in an editorial? If you said this religion is dangerous, is that your own experience? Or is it a headline that has taken root in your brain? You are a parrot, and the news is your trainer. This training starts early. From childhood, you are taught to be well informed. Parents are proud if their children know the names of all the cabinet ministers. I say this is a crime. You are filling the child's head with names of people who are themselves lost. You are teaching the child to look outward before they have even learned to look inward. In the psychology of the esoteric, I explain that man is born as a seed of pure consciousness. But society immediately starts the mental rape. They label the seed, they prune it, they force it to grow in a certain way. And the media is the most powerful tool of this socialization. They want you to be a citizen, not an individual. A citizen is a part of the machine. An individual is a world unto himself. A citizen needs to know the news so he can vote, so he can pay taxes, so he can go to war when he is told. An individual needs to know himself so he can be free. The newspaper keeps you a slave to the now, the trivial now. I want you to be a master of the eternal now. The now of the news is already past. By the time you read it, it is dead. The now of meditation is always fresh, always blooming. Think of the energy you waste. You spend an hour every day on the news. That is 7 hours a week, 364 hours a year. If you spend that that time in silence, if you spend that time dancing, if you spend that time simply watching your breath, you would be a Buddha by now. But you chose the vomit instead. You chose to be a well-informed corpse rather than an ignorant living being. I use the word ignorant in the sense of the Zen masters. They call it the mind of the beginner. It is a state of not knowing. In that not knowing, everything is a miracle. When you know through the news, nothing is a miracle anymore. You have a label for everything. You have an explanation for everything. But labels are not the reality. The word water is not water. The news about love is not love. If you are enjoying this journey into the unknown, if you feel that these words are stripping away the layers of dust from your soul, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We are building a space here that is the antidote to the news. And if you want to take these teachings home, our ebooks provide the deep, silent wisdom that no newspaper could ever contain. For those who want to support the anti-news revolution, the join button is your way to stand with us. I have heard there was a great mystic who lived in a forest. A journalist went to see him and said, "Sir, don't you want to know what is happening in the world? There is a revolution in the neighboring country. There is a new king in the north and a great plague in the east." The mystic laughed and said, "In here, the sun rose this morning. That is the only news I need. The flowers are blooming. The stream is singing. That is the only revolution that matters." The journalist thought the mystic was crazy. But who is crazy? The man who is in tune with existence, or the man who is in tune with the latest rumors of the marketplace? The news is nothing but a grand rumor. It is his story, not the truth. And his story is always written by the winners, by the powerful. It is a fiction that people have agreed to believe in. When you read the newspaper, you are reading a script written to keep the status quo. They don't want you to be silent. If everyone became silent, if everyone became a meditator, who would buy their products? Who would vote for their corrupt leaders? Who would go to their senseless wars? Silence is the greatest rebellion. That is why I say reading the newspaper is a political act of submission. You are saying, "I accept your version of reality. I accept your distractions. I invite you to a different reality. A reality that is found when the television is off, when the phone is silent, when the newspaper is in the trash, in that space you will find a different kind of news. You will find that you are not a body, you are not a mind. You will find that you are an infinite sky of consciousness. Isn't that better news than a 5% drop in the stock market? But you are addicted. And like any addiction, it serves a purpose. It numbs the pain. You are in pain because your life is meaningless. Instead of facing that meaninglessness and transforming it into a meaningful silence, you use the news as a drug. You use the mental rape to forget your own inner emptiness. When you see a war on TV, you feel a thrill. Why? Because your own life is so boring. You want some excitement, even if it is the excitement of death. This is the Zorba side of you that has gone wrong. Zorba loves life. He loves the earth. He loves the dance. But when Zorba is suppressed, he becomes interested in the anti-life, in violence, in catastrophe. I want to bring Zorba the Buddha to life in you. I want you to be grounded in the earth, enjoying the physical world, but with the silent heart of a Buddha. A Zorba the Buddha doesn't need the news. He is the news. Every moment of his life is a new headline, a new revelation. Let's talk about mental rape again. It is a strong term, but it is accurate. Rape is an act of violence where something is forced upon you against your will. You might say, but Osho, I choose to watch the news. I say to you, you have been conditioned to think it is a choice. You have been brainwashed to believe it is a responsibility. You have been told that to be a good person, you must stay informed. This is the force. This is the coercion. The media doesn't just give you facts. It gives you an emotional tone. They use music. They use the tone of the voice. They use shocking images to trigger your nervous system. They are literally playing with your brain. They are injecting fear, anger, and anxiety directly into your bloodstream. Is this not a form of rape? They are violating your inner space without your permission. If someone came into your house and started screaming about murders and rapes, you would call the police. But you let the news anchor do it every night in your living room. You even pay for the privilege. Stop this violation. Close the doors of your senses to the garbage. Be more selective. Protect your consciousness as if it were a precious diamond, because it is. It is the only thing you have that is real. In the discipline of transcendence, Buddha teaches the protection of the senses. It doesn't mean you become a hermit. It means you become aware of what you are letting in. If you are eating, you eat with awareness. If you are listening, you listen with awareness. And if you see something that is vomit, you simply look away. You don't have to be angry, you just have to be intelligent. Intelligence is the ability to see the useless as useless. Most of what you call knowledge is just a collection of the useless. You know the capital of countries you will never see. You know the names of celebrities whose lives are a mess. How does this help you? Does it bring you peace? Does it make you more loving? No. It just makes your mind more crowded. A crowded mind is a miserable mind. I want to give you an empty mind. Not empty in the sense of being a fool, but empty in the sense of being a clear mirror. When the mirror is empty, it can reflect the moon, the stars, the trees. When the mirror is full of news, it can only reflect the dust. If you want to help us keep this mirror cleaning service going, consider using the super thanks. Every bit helps us keep this space pure and free from the mental rape of commercial interests. And for those who are ready for a serious detox, our e-books on meditation and consciousness are the perfect guide. I see many people who say, Osho, if I don't read the news, I will have nothing to talk about at parties. Exactly, and what a blessing that would be. Imagine a party where people are silent. Imagine a party where people don't talk about the latest scandal, but instead they sing together, or they dance together, or they just sit and look at the fire. Your social life is just a collective session of vomiting. You vomit what you read in the morning, and someone else vomits back what they heard on the radio. And you call this conversation. It is just a mutual exchange of garbage. Be ignorant. Be a misfit. Be the person who says, I don't know who the Prime Minister is, but I know how the wind feels on my skin. People will think you are strange. Let them. Their normalcy is a disease. Their well-informed status is a straitjacket. The news makes you a part of the crowd. And the crowd is always unconscious. The crowd has no soul. Only the individual has a soul. To find your soul, you must leave the crowds. You must leave the collective mind. And the umbilical cord that connects you to the collective mind is the media. Cut the cords. Become an island of consciousness in an ocean of madness. This does not mean you don't care about the world. On the contrary, only a man of silence can truly care. The man who is caught in the news is only reacting. He is full of pity, which is a cheap emotion. Or he is full of anger, which is a destructive emotion. The man of meditation has compassion. Compassion is not a reaction. It is a fragrance of your being. When you are silent, when you are whole, you see the suffering of the world and you feel a deep urge to help. But your help will be real. You won't just post a hashtag on social media, another form of news vomit. You will do something that comes from your own light. Perhaps your only contribution will be your own silence, your own joy. And I tell you, that is the greatest contribution possible. One person who is truly happy, truly silent, does more for the world than 1,000 people shouting about justice while their own hearts are full of hate. The mental rape of the news makes you a hater. It makes you against this and against that. It divides the world into us and them. This division is the cause of all wars. And the news feeds this division every single day. I am for existence. I am not against anything. I am for the blossoming of the human spirit. And that blossoming cannot happen in the dark, cramped room of the informed mind. It needs the open sky of the meditative heart. So let this be our goal. Let us move from the headline to the heart line. I have heard there was a man who was so addicted to the news that he had a radio on his left ear, a television in front of him, and a newspaper in his hands. He was trying to keep up with everything. Suddenly, there was a power outage. The TV went black. The radio went silent. It was a dark, quiet night. The man sat there for a moment, terrified. Then, for the first time in 30 years, he heard his own heart beat. He was so shocked, he thought it was a new kind of explosion. He ran out into the street shouting, "Something is beating! Something is beating!" You have forgotten your own heartbeat. You have forgotten the rhythm of your own life because you are so focused on the artificial rhythms of the world. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 3, I talk about the Sutra of 42 chapters. Buddha says, those who follow the way are like unto warriors who fight single-handed with a multitude of foes. Your foes are not people, they are your own habits. And the habit of eating vomit, of consuming the news, is one of the most difficult to conquer. But you must be a warrior. You must fight for your own sanity. The society will not help you. The government will not help you. They want you distracted. They want you to be a consumer. A consumer is a person who is never satisfied. The news makes sure you are never satisfied. It tells you what you are missing. It tells you what you should be afraid of. It keeps you in a state of unease. Meditation is ease. It is being at home. If you feel this ease coming into your heart as you listen to my voice, share this video. Let it be a viral infection of consciousness. And if you want to support our mission to bring this silence to a noisy world, please click that join button or leave a super thanks. Your support is what makes this alternative news, the news of the soul, possible. Let us continue our journey. Let us look at how the news clutters your inner space, and how we can use the techniques from the first and last freedom to clear the air. Your inner space is a temple, but you have treated it like a public toilet. Everyone who has an opinion, everyone who has a grievance, everyone who has a product to sell walks in and leaves their mark. This is what the modern world does to you. This is why you feel so stressed, so exhausted. It is not because of your work. It is because of the mental clutter. In the book Meditation, the first and last freedom, I speak about the gibberish meditation. It is a very powerful technique for our time. You simply sit and speak nonsense. Any language you don't know are just sounds. Why? To throw out the vomit that has accumulated in your mind. All the news headlines, all the political speeches, all the advertising slogans, they are all stuck in there like a thick layer of sludge. You need to scream them out, talk them out, let them go. Only when the mind is empty of the world can it be full of the divine. The news is a substitute for real life. People watch travel shows because they don't travel. They watch romantic movies because they don't love. They watch news about revolutions because they are too cowardly to start a revolution in their own lives. I am a revolutionary. But my revolution is not about changing the government. My revolution is about changing the governor inside you, the mind. The mind is a beautiful servant, but a dangerous master. and the news is the food of the master. When you feed the mind with news, the master becomes stronger, and the servant, your consciousness, becomes weaker. You must reverse this. You must become the master. You must be the one who decides what enters your space. Imagine you are walking in a beautiful garden. You see a flower and you look at it. You see a pile of garbage and you look away. This is natural. This is intelligence. But when it comes to the mental garden, you do the opposite. You ignore the flower of your own breathing and you stare at the garbage of the news for hours. Why this self-torture? Is it because you think you are staying informed? Informed about what? About things that don't matter to your soul. If the sun exploded tomorrow, that would be news. But as long as the sun is there, as long as existence is supporting you, everything else is just a footnote. I want you to focus on the text, not the footnotes. The text is your life. The text is this moment. Listen to the silence between my words. That silence is more informative than all the newspapers in London, New York, and Delhi combined. In that silence, you can hear the heartbeat of existence. In that silence, you can feel the presence of the eternal. If you are starting to feel that silence, if you are starting to realize that you have been eating vomit for too long, then it is time to make a change. Subscribe to this channel, not as a follower, but as a fellow traveler. Leave a comment and let me know. What was the moment you decided to stop letting the world rape your mind? And if you want to support this commune of silence, the join button and super thanks are always there as a way for you to participate in our growth. Our ebooks are also ready to help you navigate this transition from noise to music. I have heard there was a politician who died and went to heaven. Saint Peter met him at the gates and said, "We have a new policy. You can spend one day in hell and one day in heaven, and then you can choose where you want to stay." The politician went to hell first. It was amazing. There was a golf course, a luxury club, and all his friends were there, drinking and talking about the news. They had a great time. The next day he went to heaven. It was beautiful. Silence, clouds, music, and people meditating. It was peaceful, but a bit boring for the politician. At the end of the 2 days, St. Peter asked, "What is your choice?" The politician said, "Heaven is nice, but my heart is in hell. I choose hell." As soon as he entered the gates of hell, the golf course vanished. Instead, he saw a vast wasteland of fire and people being tortured. He was horrified. He found the devil and said, "What happened? Yesterday there was music and a club." The devil laughed and said, "Yesterday we were campaigning. Today you have voted." This is exactly how the media works. They campaign for your attention with flashy graphics and exciting promises of breaking news. But once they have your attention, they give you the hell of anxiety, fear, and division. They are the devil in the script of your life. I am here to tell you, don't vote. Don't vote for their reality. Create your own heaven. And heaven is not a place you go after death. It is a state of mind you achieve when you are no longer a victim of mental rape. When you are silent, you are in heaven. When you are joyful, you are in heaven. When you are free from the opinions of others, you are in heaven. The newspaper is the gatekeeper of hell. It keeps you focused on the wasteland of the world. It keeps you focused on the torture of the headlines. Let's look at the concept of mental rape from another angle. The media uses subliminal programming. Even when you think you are just watching the news, they are planting ideas in your mind. They use repetition. They say the same thing over and over until it becomes your truth. This is how they create public opinion. But there is no such thing as public opinion. There is only media opinion that has been forced into the public's head. You are a victim of this. You think you have an opinion on the war, but you don't. You have the media's opinion. You think you have an opinion on the economy, but you don't. You have the vomit of the experts. Where is your opinion? Where is your voice? Your voice can only be found in silence. Your opinion can only be found in your own direct experience. If you haven't lived it, don't believe it. If you haven't felt it, don't repeat it. Be empty of the news, and you will be full of yourself. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 1, Buddha says that the first step to freedom is to understand the mind. Understanding the mind means seeing how it is influenced. If you see that you are being manipulated by the news, that very seeing is the beginning of freedom. The moment you see the vomit for what it is, you stop eating it. You don't need a rule. You just need eyes. I am not giving you a commandment to stop reading the newspaper. I am just helping you see what it is doing to you. Once you see that it is mental rape, you will naturally stop. You will protect yourself. You will start seeking good news. And the only good news is the news of the soul. In From Unconsciousness to Consciousness, I explain that the media is a reflection of the unconscious mind. It is a collective dream, a nightmare actually. To move to consciousness, you must wake up from this collective nightmare. You must become an individual. An individual is someone who cannot be divided. The news divides you. It divides you from yourself. It divides you from your neighbors. It divides you from existence. I want to make you individual, undivided, one with yourself. This oneness is the source of all bliss. And you don't need a satellite connection for this oneness. You don't need a 5G network. You just need a quiet corner and a little bit of courage. The courage to be uninformed. I am proud to be the most uninformed man on the earth. I don't know what is happening in the world of politics, and I don't care. My world is the world of the inner sun. And that sun is always shining. It doesn't need a headline. When you are in tune with that inner sun, you become a light unto yourself. And then you can help others. Then you can share your light. That is why I am talking to you. Not to give you more news, but to give you a new way of being. If you are ready for this new way of being, then let's take the next step. Let's look at the practical guide to reclaiming your consciousness. And as we move forward, remember that this channel is a sanctuary. We keep it alive through your join memberships and your super thanks. Every time you contribute, you are helping us build a wall against the mental rape of the world, and our ebooks are the tools you need to build your own inner sanctuary. Let's go deeper. Why is the news so addictive? Because it gives you a sense of participation without you having to do anything. You watch the news about a famine and you feel sad. That sadness makes you feel like a good person. You have participated in the suffering of the world. This is a lie. Your sadness doesn't feed a single child. It only feeds your own ego. It is a cheap emotion. It is a way to avoid real action. Real action starts with your own transformation. If you are a sad person, you add to the sadness of the world. If you are an angry person, you add to the anger of the world. If you are a silent and joyful person, you add to the silence and joy of the world. The newspaper wants you to be sad and angry. They want you to be outraged, because an outraged person is a consumer. He will buy things to soothe his outrage. I want you to be out of range, out of the range of their influence. When you are out of range, you are free. Think about the mental rape again. They use fear as a hook. If you don't watch the news, you might miss something dangerous. This is the same tactic used by religions. If you don't follow the priest, you will go to hell. It is the same old game. I tell you, the only hell is the one you are living in right now, with a mind full of news vomit. The only heaven is the one you can enter right now by simply being aware. In Beyond Psychology, I say that man is a bridge between the animal and the divine. The news keeps you at the animal level, focused on survival, focused on fear, focused on the tribe. Meditation takes you to the divine, focused on the eternal, focused on love, focused on the all. Choose the divine. Stop being an animal that is fed information by its masters. Become a god who creates his own reality. I know it sounds radical. I know it sounds too much, but that is the only way. To be normal in a sick world is not a sign of health. To be well adjusted to a mentally raping society is a tragedy. Be maladjusted. Be insane by their standards. If they say you are crazy because you don't read the newspaper, say yes. Give them a big smile. Their opinion is just more vomit. Why would you care about it? When you are free from the news, you are free from history. You start living in the moment, and the moment has no history. The moment is always new. This is the secret of eternal youth. The mind becomes old because it is full of the old news of the world. The heart stays young because it is full of the new silence of existence. I want you to have a young heart. I want you to be like a child, innocent, wondering, full of awe. The news kills awe. It explains everything away. It makes the world seem like a series of problems to be solved. I say, the world is not a problem to be solved. It is a mystery to be lived. The news is for problem solvers. Meditation is for mystery livers. Which one are you? If you are a mystery liver, then you belong here. You belong in this caravan. And as we continue this journey, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your support through the join button and the super thanks. And if you haven't checked out our ebooks, do it now. They are the maps for the territory of the soul. Let us dive even deeper into the vortex of silence. Let us look at how the news creates stress and how witnessing is the ultimate cure. Stress is nothing but a mind that is out of sync with existence. The news puts you out of sync. It gives you an artificial rhythm. Witnessing brings you back to the natural rhythm. When you witness, you just watch. You watch the mind, you watch the thoughts, you watch the news vomit floating by. You don't grab it, you don't try to change it, you just watch. And in that watching, the miracle happens. The vomit disappears. The mental rape stops. You are left with a vast, open space. This space is your home. This space is what the newspaper can never talk about. This space is where you will find me. Not in the words, not in the headlines, but in the silence of your own witnessing. Stay aware, stay silent, stay joyful. I have been telling you about the mental rape and the vomit of the news, but now I want to talk about the solution. And the solution is not a new theory, it is a new practice. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 4, I talk about the Eightfold Way of Buddha. One of the steps is right mindfulness. This is the key. What is right mindfulness? It is the ability to be present in whatever you are doing. If you are reading a book, be there. If you are walking, be there. But the news is designed to take you away from where you are. It takes you to the other side of the planet. It takes you to a future of fear or a past of regret. It is the anti-mindfulness. To practice right mindfulness, you must first clear the junk. And the biggest piece of junk in your life is the information addiction. You are an information addict. You need your daily dose. If you don't get it, you feel out of the loop. I say, the loop is a prison. Get out of it. Be out of the loop and in the moment. When you are in the moment, you don't need news. You have the direct perception of reality. You see the tree, and you don't need a botanist to explain it. You feel the rain, and you don't need a meteorologist to tell you it is wet. You feel your own joy, and you don't need a psychologist to tell you why. This is freedom. And this freedom is what this channel is all about. If you are feeling this freedom, please like and share this video. Let's create a chain reaction of awareness. And remember, this space is supported by seekers like you. Use the join button to become a permanent part of our commune, and the super thanks to show your appreciation for these sessions. Our ebooks are also a great way to deepen your practice. I have heard there was a master who was asked, "What is the secret of your peace?" The master said, "I don't read the newspaper, and I don't believe the priests." The student asked, "But how do you know what is happening in the world?" The master said, "I know what is happening in me. And what is happening in me is what is happening in the whole universe. The world is just a large version of my own inner state. If I am silent, the world is silent. If I am at war with myself, the world is at war." This is a profound truth. The news you see outside is just a projection of the news inside. If humanity became silent, the newspapers would have nothing to write about. They would have to go out of business. And that would be the greatest day in history. The day the newspapers die is the day humanity begins to live. But as long as you are hungry for the vomit, they will keep providing it. They are just businessmen. They are selling what you are buying. Stop buying, start being. Being is not a doing, it is a state of non-doing. It is sitting silently, doing nothing, and letting the grass grow by itself. The newspaper tells you that you must do something. You must protest. You must vote. You must buy. You must hate. I tell you, just be. And in your being, you will find the solution to all the problems of the world. Because the problems of the world are created by doing, by the ego doing of unconscious people. When you are in non-doing, you are in tune with existence, and existence has no problems. The mental rape of the media is an attempt to force you into doing, to force you into a state of tension. Tension is the energy of the mind. Relaxation is the energy of the soul. The news is anti-relaxation. Have you ever felt relaxed after watching the news? No. You feel heavy. You feel tight. You feel like the world is on your shoulders. I want to take that weight off your shoulders. I want you to be as light as a feather. But to be light, you must drop the vomit. You must stop the mental rape. You must say, "This is my mind, and I am the master here. I will not allow this garbage to enter." This is the discipline of transcendence. It is the discipline of going beyond the trivial. The trivial is the news. The eternal is the silence. I want you to be a traveler of the eternal. I see many people who are afraid of missing out. They have FOMO, fear of missing out. I tell you, you are already missing out. You are missing out on your own life. You are missing out on the present moment. You are missing out on God. And you are missing all this because you are afraid of missing a headline about a politician's scandal. What a waste! Don't be afraid of missing the news. Be afraid of missing yourself. Because if you miss yourself, you have missed everything. Even if you know all the news in the world, you are still a loser. But if you find yourself, even if you are totally ignorant of the world, you are the winner. You are the emperor of the soul. I want you to be emperors. I don't want you to be consumers. So let's make a deal. From today, give more time to your inner news and less time to the outer news. Spend 30 minutes in meditation for every 5 minutes you spend on the news. Soon you will find that the 5 minutes of news is too much. You will find that it tastes like vomit, and you will naturally stop. This is the way of the Buddha. It is not about rules, it is about seeing. When you see a snake, you don't need a rule to run away, you just run. When you see the mental rape of the media, you don't need a rule to turn it off, you just turn it off. It is an act of intelligence. And intelligence is what I am trying to wake up in you. Not intellect. Intellect is of the mind. Intellect loves the news. Intellect loves to analyze the vomit. Intelligence is of the heart. Intelligence sees the vomit and stays away. Be intelligent. And if you want to nourish your intelligence, our ebooks and this channel are here to help. Join our community through the join button and let's grow together. Your super thanks are also a beautiful way to keep this fire of intelligence burning. Let us continue. Why do the priests and politicians love the media? Because it is their pulpit. It is how they mental rape the whole world at once. In the old days, they had to go from village to village. Now they can reach millions in a second. The scale of the rape has increased, but your power to say no has also increased. You have the remote control in your hands. You have the power to delete the app. Use it. Reclaim your freedom. And when you are free, you will find a different kind of information. You will find the wisdom of the ages. You will find the teachings of the masters. You will find the music of the spheres. This information doesn't make you heavy, it makes you light. It doesn't make you angry, it makes you loving. It doesn't make you fearful, it makes you fearless. This is the information I want to give you. But first, you must empty the cup. If your cup is full of news vomit, I cannot pour the wine of wisdom into it. Empty the cup, throw out the vomit, and then sit with me in silence, in celebration, in love. This is the true news, the news that you are divine, the news that life is a gift, the news that death is a door to the eternal. Everything else is just noise. Everything else is just mental rape. Everything else is just someone else's vomit. Stop eating it and start living, where we will dive even deeper into the Zen of information and how to live in the world without being off it. Stay aware, stay joyful, stay free. The news is a constant reminder of death, but not in a way that helps you grow. It is a reminder of death that makes you cling more to your petty life. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 3, I speak about being always on the funeral pyre. This is the reality. Every moment you are burning. Every moment you are moving closer to the grave. But the newspaper wants you to be afraid of the wrong death. It wants you to be afraid of a terrorist, a virus, or a plane crash. These are accidental deaths. The real death is happening right now inside you as your time slips away while you are distracted by the trivial. You are being robbed of your life, and the thief is that glowing screen in your hands, that morning paper on your table. It is a mental rape because it takes your attention, which is your most precious energy, and squanders it on things that do not nourish your soul. Have you ever noticed that after few hours of scrolling through news or watching the breaking stories, you feel empty? You feel a certain hollowness in your chest. That is the soul's hunger. You have fed it junk. You have fed it someone else's vomit, and the soul is crying for real food. Real food is silence. Real food is love. Real food is the experience of your own being. If you feel this hollowness and you are looking for a way to fill it with something real, something eternal, I invite you to explore our ebooks. They are not news, they are nurturance. They are designed to help you navigate your inner world, far away from the noise of the marketplace. And if you want to support this sanctuary of silence, hit the join button. By becoming a member, you are telling the world that you value consciousness over chaos. The mind loves the news because the mind is a gossip. The mind is always interested in what is happening in the neighbor's house. Why? Because looking into your own house is terrifying. In your own house, you will find a vast emptiness. You will find that you don't know who you are. To avoid this encounter with your own nothingness, you run to the news. You become an expert on the politics of a country 5,000 miles away, just so you don't have to be a beginner in the study of yourself. This is a deep psychological trick. In the psychology of the esoteric, I explain how man lives in layers. The outermost layer is the world of the news, the world of society, the world of the collective. The innermost core is the world of the Buddha. Most people die without ever leaving the outermost layer. They lived in the newspaper and they died in the newspaper. They never even touched their own skin. I want you to peel away these layers. When you read a headline about a war, ask yourself, is there a war going on inside me? Because the war in the world is only a reflection of the war in your heart. You are divided. You are fighting with your body. You are fighting with your desires. You are fighting with your past. The media only gives you a larger screen to project your inner conflict onto. Don't be a spectator of the world's madness. Be a witness to your own consciousness. As you listen to me, if you feel a sense of clarity descending upon you, share this video. There are millions of people out there who are being mentally raped every day and they don't even know it. They think it's normal to be anxious. They think it's normal to be obsessed with the news. Help them see that there is another way to live. And if you feel a deep gratitude for these insights, the super thanks is a beautiful way to share that energy and keep this message flowing to every corner of the earth. Let's look at the addiction to information. It is the most subtle addiction. If you drink alcohol, people notice. If you smoke, people notice. But if you are addicted to the news, people call you well informed. They respect you. but it is the same pathology. You are using an external stimulus to avoid your internal reality. I have heard there was a man who was so well informed that he knew exactly how many people died in every earthquake for the last 50 years. He knew the GDP of every nation. He knew the secret scandals of every royal family. One day, he met a Zen master. The master asked him, "You know so much about the world. Tell me, how much does your own soul weigh?" The man was shocked. He said, "I don't know." The master said, "You are like a man who has a map of the whole moon but is lost in his own bedroom. This is your situation. You are lost in your own bedroom. And the newspaper is the map of the moon that you are staring at. Put down the map. Look at the room. Look at your life. The news tells you that the world is out of control. This creates a deep anxiety in your nervous system. You feel helpless. And when you feel helpless, you are easy to manipulate. The politicians love it when you are afraid. The priests love it when you are worried. They offer you protection. They offer you salvation. I offer you nothing but your own freedom. And freedom starts with the realization that the world presented by the media is a fiction. It is a curated, edited, and distorted version of reality designed to keep you in a state of unease. In Beyond Psychology, I say that the only real psychology is the psychology of the witness. A witness does not get entangled. If the news is playing on the TV, he sees it as just waves on the ocean. He doesn't become the wave, he remains the ocean. He knows that the waves will come and go, but the ocean remains. You are the ocean. The news is just a tiny, dirty ripple on the surface. Why are you so worried about the ripple? Dive deep. The deeper you go, the more silence you find. At the very bottom of your being, there is a silence that no headline can disturb. There is a joy that no catastrophe can diminish. This is what I call Zorba the Buddha. A man who can enjoy the world, who can see the drama of life, but who is rooted in the eternal silence of his own soul. To become a Zorba the Buddha, you must stop being a news junkie. You must stop allowing your mind to be raped by the sensationalism of the media. Think about the language they use. Slammed, exploded, shocking, terrible. This is the language of violence. They are hitting your mind with these words. They are creating a mental friction. and friction creates heat, the heat of anger, the heat of stress. I want to give you coolness, the coolness of meditation. In meditation, the first and last freedom, I describe the heartbeat meditation. Simply sitting and listening to your own heart. It is the oldest news in the world. It has been going on since you were in the womb. But have you ever really listened to it? It is more musical than any symphony. It is more profound than any political speech. And it is yours. It is not someone else's vomit. It is your own life force. If you are ready to listen to your own heart, then you are ready to join our caravan. Click the join button and let's walk this path together. We are building a community of individuals who refuse to be part of the news-minded crowds. And if you find these sessions helpful, a super thanks helps us continue to provide this anti-vomit education to the world. Our ebooks are also there to serve as your personal guide in the dark. The media also creates a false sense of history. They make you believe that what is happening today is the most important thing that has ever happened. This is a lie. Every generation thinks that its time is the most critical. Every generation thinks the world is about to end. This is just the ego of the present moment. 500 years from now, no one will remember the headlines of today. They will be forgotten like the dust. But if today you find a moment of true silence, that will be part of the eternal. That will never be lost. That is the only real history, the history of human consciousness. Buddha is still relevant after 2500 years. Why? Not because he knew the news of his time, but because he found the truth that is beyond time. The news is time-bound. Meditation is timeless. I want you to be timeless. Stop being a slave to the clock and the calendar of the media. They want you to live in a state of hurry. Breaking news, update, stay tuned. This hurry is a sickness. It prevents you from ever being here. Meditation is the art of being here. If you are here, you are enlightened. If you are there, in the news, in the future, in the past, senile. You are choosing between enlightenment and senility. Every time you pick up that phone, choose enlightenment. It is a difficult choice because the whole society is against it. They will call you ignorant. They will call you irresponsible. I have heard a journalist went to a monastery and asked a monk What do you think about the war in the Middle East? The monk said, I haven't heard about it. The journalist was shocked. But it's been going on for years. Don't you feel irresponsible? The monk smiled and said, I have been at war with my own ego for 20 years. I finally made peace this morning. Now tell me, who is more responsible? The man who makes peace within himself, or the man who carries the news of war in his head and hates his neighbor? This monk is a true warrior. He has fought the multitude of foes that Buddha talks about in the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 4. The foes are not other people. The foes are the distractions, the passions, and the mental rape of the world. Victory in this war is the only victory that matters. So let the world have its news. You have your silence. Let the world have its vomit. You have your nectar. The nectar of awareness is available to you in every moment. It is the good news that the media will never report. They won't report it because it cannot be sold. It is free. It is your birthright. I am just here to remind you of it. I am a reminder, not a reporter. A reporter tells you about the dead. A reminder tells you about the living. I want you to be fully, vibrantly alive. To be alive means to be sensitive. But the news makes you numb. When you see 1,000 deaths on a screen every day, your heart becomes a stone. You lose the ability to cry. You lose the ability to feel. You become a news zombie. I want to break that numbness. I want to make you cry with joy. I want to make you dance with ecstasy. And that can only happen when you reclaim your mind from the rapists of the media. Protect your inner space. It is a holy place. Don't let the vomit in. If you have stayed with me this far, it means you are tired of the garbage. It means you are ready for the truth. Subscribe to this channel and let's keep this flame alive. Use the join button to support our community and the super thanks to help us spread this silence. And check out our ebooks. They are the antidote to the poison of the modern world. Let us continue. Let us look at how the collective unconscious is fed by the media and how we can break free from the herd mentality. The news is the barking of the herd. I want you to be a lion. A lion walks alone. A lion does not follow the news of the sheep. Be a lion of consciousness. We will explore the zen of loneliness and why being uninformed is the first step toward being fully awakened. Stay with me. Stay silent. Stay in love. Loneliness is often seen as a curse by the news minded society. They tell you that you must be connected. They give you social media, which is neither social nor media. It is just a collective session of mutual rape. You are constantly being bombarded by the opinions, the photos, and the fake lives of others. And the news is the glue that holds this false connection together. I say, loneliness is a blessing. But you must understand the difference between loneliness and aloneness. Loneliness is a state where you miss the other. You miss the news. You miss the noise. You miss the distraction. Loneliness is vomit withdrawal. Aloneness is a state where you have found yourself. In aloneness, you are complete. You are a circle. You don't need the other to fill you up. You don't need the news to tell you that you exist. The media thrives on your fear of being alone. They provide a background noise so you don't have to face the silence of your own room. They give you a global village so you don't have to be an individual. In From Unconsciousness to Consciousness, I explain that the move from the collective to the individual is the most difficult step in evolution. The herd is comfortable. The herd reads the same newspaper, watches the same news, and hates the same enemies. It gives you a sense of belonging, but this belonging is a prison. I want you to belong to existence, not to a herd. And to belong to existence, you must first be alone. You must have the courage to say, I don't know what is happening in the world, but I know what is happening in my heart. This aloneness is what the news is trying to destroy. Every notification on your phone is an arrow aimed at your aloneness. Every breaking news alert is a mental rape of your peace. If you are beginning to value your aloneness, if you are beginning to see that the other is just a distraction, then you are ready for a deeper transformation. Support our mission by hitting the join button and becoming part of our inner circle. Your super thanks also helps us reach those who are still lost in the herd. And for a practical guide to turning loneliness into aloneness, our ebooks are an invaluable resource. I have heard there was a philosopher who spent 20 years in a cave in the Himalayas. He never saw a newspaper, never heard a radio. One day, a traveler climbed up to his cave and said, Sir, don't you want to know about the great war that just ended? Millions have died. Borders have changed and a new era has begun. The philosopher looked at the traveler and asked, "Has man's greed changed? Has man's anger disappeared? Has man found his soul?" The traveler said, "No, those things are the same." The philosopher said, "Then nothing has happened. Why should I be interested in the same old story with different names?" This is the wisdom of transcendence. If the basic pathology of man remains the same, then the news is just a repetitive nightmare. Why watch a nightmare over and over? The media wants you to focus on the borders, the names, and the dates. I want you to focus on the greed, the anger, and the unconsciousness, because those are the things you can actually change within yourself. You cannot stop a war in the Middle East, but you can stop the war within your own mind. You cannot stop the global economy from crashing, but you can find a wealth of silence that no bank can take away. The news makes you a pseudo actor. You feel like you are part of the world's events, but you are just a passive consumer. You are being raped by the information, and you think you are participating. Stop this delusion. Withdraw your energy from the trivial and invest it in the eternal. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 1, Buddha talks about the Sramana, the one who leaves the home and understands the mind. Leaving the home doesn't necessarily mean leaving your house. It means leaving the collective mind. It means leaving the mental home that society has built for you. The newspaper is the wallpaper of that mental home. It makes everything look normal and familiar. Tear down the wallpaper. Look at the raw, naked reality of your own existence. It is a scary thing at first. Without the news, without the gossip, you will feel empty. You will feel bored. But boredom is a great door. Boredom is simply the mind saying, "I am out of vomit to chew on." If you can stay with that boredom, if you don't run back to the phone or the TV, something beautiful happens. The mind becomes tired of its own noise and falls silent. In that silence, the nectar begins to flow. You start to feel a certain presence. You start to see the beauty in small things, a spider's web, the way the light hits the floor, the sound of a distant bird. These are the real headlines of existence. God exists in the details, but you miss God because you are looking for Him in the big news. You are looking for Him in the grand events. God is not in the grand event. God is in the silent moment. The media is anti-God because it is anti-silence. If you are starting to see the divine in the silent moments of your life, share this video. Let's help others find the nectar in their own boredom. And if you want to support this revolution of silence, use the join button and the super thanks. Every contribution is a seed planted in the garden of awareness. Our ebooks are also here to provide the water for those seeds. Let's talk about mental rape and propaganda. The news is never objective. It is always propaganda. It is always trying to sell you a way of thinking. They tell you that democracy is the answer. Our socialism is the answer. Our consumerism is the answer. These are all just different brands of vomit. The only answer is awareness. But awareness cannot be sold. It cannot be packaged. It can only be awakened. And I am here to wake you up. I am not here to give you a new ideology. I am here to take all ideologies away from you. Because an ideology is just a mental filter. It prevents you from seeing reality as it is. The news is the ultimate filter. It colors everything with fear, greed, and ego. If you drop the filter, you will be shocked. You will see that the world is much more beautiful, much more mysterious, and much more one than the media tells you. They tell you that the world is divided into nations. I tell you, the earth has no lines on it. The lines are only in the heads of the politicians and in the pages of the newspapers. The news is a map of division. Meditation is a vision of unity. When you are silent, you feel a deep connection with the trees, the stars, and the animals. You feel that you are part of a single organic whole. In that state, how can you hate anyone? How can you go to war? The news wants you to hate. It needs enemies. If there are no enemies, the news becomes boring. They create enemies out of thin air. They make you afraid of the other. This is the rape of your compassion. They are turning your natural love into artificial hate. Reclaim your love, and love can only be reclaimed in silence. Love can only grow in the soil of aloneness. As we continue this journey through the discipline of transcendence, we will look at how to protect the senses from this propaganda. We will look at how to be in the world but not of it. As I say in Beyond Psychology, you can walk through the marketplace. You can even see the newspaper headlines, but you don't let them enter you. You remain a witness. You see the vomit, you see the mental rape, and you smile. You smile because you know it is on a leela, a play of the unconscious. And you are no longer a player. You are the audience. And as the audience, you can enjoy the play without being hurt by it. You can see the tragedy and the comedy and remain centered in your own bliss. This is the ultimate freedom. If you want to achieve this freedom, if you want to be the witness of your own life, then let's take the next step together. Subscribe to this channel and let's grow this community of witnesses. Use the join button to stand with us and the super thanks to show your appreciation. And don't forget our ebooks. They are the blueprints for your inner temple. I have heard a man was standing on a street corner, shouting at the top of his lungs, "The world is ending. The news is bad. Everything is collapsing." A passerby asked him, "Why are you shouting? No one is listening. You aren't going to change the world." The man said, "I am not shouting to change the world. I am shouting so the world doesn't change me." You don't need to shout. You just need to be silent. Silence is the most powerful resistance. If you are silent, the world cannot change you. The news cannot rape your mind. The vomit cannot touch your soul. You remain pure. You remain zero. And in that zero, you find the whole. This is the paradox of meditation. By becoming nothing, you become everything. By dropping the news of the world, you find the truth of existence, where we will explore the art of witnessing. In the middle of the marketplace noise, stay aware, stay silent, stay in celebration. The marketplace is not just a place where you go to buy vegetables or clothes. The marketplace has entered into your very soul. This is what I mean when I say be in the marketplace, but not of it. In Beyond Psychology, I emphasize that the marketplace is a mentality. It is a mentality of bargaining, of competition, of constant noise and distraction. And the newspaper is the daily newsletter of that marketplace. It keeps you tethered to the mundane, to the trivial, to the horizontal dimension of life. but I am here to open the vertical dimension for you, the dimension of height and depth, the dimension where the news is not about what happened in the world of shadows, but what is happening in the world of light. When you are off the marketplace, you are constantly reacting. If the news is bad, you are depressed. If the news is good, you are excited. You are like a dry leaf, blown hither and thither by the winds of the media. You have no center of your own. You have no roots. I want to give you roots so deep that even if the whole world collapses, you remain unshaken. Even if the news reports the end of the world, you can sit under a tree and laugh, because you know that what is real can never be destroyed, and what is unreal never truly existed. If you are beginning to feel that inner strength, that spark of the unshakable, then I encourage you to share this video with those who are still trembling with every news update. Let them know that there is a sanctuary within. And for those who wish to support the building of this global sanctuary of consciousness, the join button is your gateway. By joining us, you help us stay independent of the marketplace mentality. Your super thanks are also a direct way to keep this vertical news reaching more hearts. And if you feel lost in the horizontal noise, our ebooks are the compass that will point you back to your own center. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 1, Buddha talks about the Sramana, the one who understands the mind and reaches the source. To reach the source, you must stop the leakage. Your energy is leaking through your eyes, through your ears, through your constant obsession with the other. The news is the greatest energy leak in modern history. You spend your morning energy, the freshest energy you have, on things that have nothing to do with your growth. It is like trying to fill a bucket that has 100 holes. You can keep reading the news for 100 lives, but at the end your bucket will be empty. I say, plug the holes, stop the leakage, turn your gaze inward. The news tells you that there is a crisis in the world. I tell you, the only crisis is your unconsciousness. If you were conscious, there would be no crisis. Even in the middle of a war, a conscious man is in peace. Even in the middle of a famine, a conscious man is full of grace. The crisis is a creation of the mind. The media feeds that mind, makes it bigger, makes it more monstrous. I have heard there was a town where everyone was addicted to the news. They had a giant screen in the town square that updated every minute. One day, the screen broke. For 24 hours, there was no news. At first, the people were frantic. They didn't know what to do with their hands. They didn't know what to talk about. They walked around like ghosts. But by the evening, something strange happened. People started looking at each other. They started noticing the sunset. They started hearing the wind in the trees. They started feeling their own bodies. The next morning, when the technicians came to fix the screen, the people chased them away. They said, "We have found something better than the news. We have found ourselves." This is the inward revolution I talk about in the psychology of the esoteric. It is a revolution against the collective mind. The news is the voice of the collective. It is the voice of the mummy and the daddy, the voice of the society that wants to keep you a child, dependent and afraid. Break free. Be a Sramana. Go out of the mental home. This doesn't mean you leave your family. It means you leave the familiar. The news is familiar. It is the same old story of greed and violence. The truth is unfamiliar. It is the great surprise. It is the aha moment. If you have had an aha moment while listening to these words, leave a comment below. Let the community know that you are waking up. And if you want to dive deeper into the surprise of existence, our ebooks on the Zen way of living are the perfect companion. Let's look at the mental rape from the perspective of information overload. Your brain has a limit. It can only process so much information. When you force feed it with the news, it becomes congested. A congested mind is a stupid mind. It cannot think clearly. It cannot meditate. It is like a room filled with so much furniture that you cannot even walk through it. I want to throw the furniture out. I want to give you a Zen room, empty, clean, silent. In meditation, the first and last freedom, I give the technique of watching the mind. You just sit and watch the thoughts pass by like clouds. But if you have just read the newspaper, the clouds are not white and fluffy. They are dark, heavy, and full of vomit. They are the images of corpses, the words of angry politicians, the statistics of disaster. It is very difficult to watch such clouds without getting caught in them. You become the disaster. You become the anger. So the first step in meditation is information fasting. Just as you fast for your body to clean the stomach, you must fast for your mind to clean the subconscious. Try this for 3 days. No news, no social media, no television, only silence, only your breath, only the news of the body. You will be surprised at how much lightness you feel. You will be surprised at how much joy arises for no reason. This joy is your natural state. The news is the weight that is crushing it. I see many people who say, "But Osho, if I don't know the news, how can I help the world?" I tell you, you cannot help the world if you are part of the world's misery. A drowning man cannot save another drowning man. First, you must reach the source. First, you must find your own peace. The news makes you a sufferer. It doesn't make you a helper. If you want to be a real helper, you must be a light. And to be a light, you must be free from the darkness of the media. This channel is a small light in a very dark world. Help us keep it burning. Hit the join button to become a pillar of this work. Your super thanks are like oil for the lamp, and our ebooks are the matches to light your own inner fire. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 4, I talk about right effort. Right effort is not about working hard, it is about working inwardly. The effort to stop the news addiction is a right effort. It is the effort to reclaim your consciousness from the rapists. Think about the psychology of fear. The media knows that fear is the most powerful emotion. It triggers the amygdala, the primitive part of the brain. When you are in fear, you cannot use your frontal cortex, the evolved part of the brain. You become an animal. The news is designed to keep you in animal mode. I want to take you to Buddha mode. A Buddha is never in fear, not because he knows everything that is going to happen, but because he knows that whatever happens, he is not the body, he is not the mind, he is the witness. The witness is eternal, the news is temporary. Why give your eternal attention to the temporary garbage? I have heard there was a king who was so obsessed with the news that he had messengers running to him every hour from all over the kingdom. He was always worried, always stressed. One day, a mystic came to the court and gave the king a ring. He said, "Inside this ring, there is a message. Open it only when you feel that everything is lost. When you are at the peak of your misery." A few months later, The kingdom was invaded. The king was defeated. He was hiding in a cave, hearing the enemies searching for him. He felt his heart would stop from fear. He remembered the ring. He opened it. The message said, "This too shall pass." The king felt a sudden peace. He realized that the war, the defeat, the news, it was all just a passing shadow. He sat in silence and felt a joy he had never known in his palace. This is the news I have for you. This too shall pass. The election will pass. The war will pass. The economy will pass. Even your body will pass. Only the witnessing remains. So why get so upset? Why let the mental rape continue? Close your eyes. Feel the thisness of the moment. There is no news here. There is just being. If you are feeling thisness, this peace, please subscribe and share. Let's create a world where people are more interested in their own souls than in the world's scandals. And if you want to support this inner kingdom, use the join button and the super things. Our ebooks are also there to help you find the ring of wisdom within yourself. Let's talk about the vomit metaphor again. When you eat someone's vomit, you are taking their interpretation of reality. You are not seeing the world, you are seeing their world. And their world is full of trauma. The media is trauma obsessed. They ignore the billions of acts of kindness that happen every day. They ignore the billions of flowers that bloom. They focus only on the one flower that was crushed. This gives you a pathological view of existence. You start believing that life is bad. I tell you, life is grand. Life is a dance. Life is a celebration. But to see the celebration, you must stop looking at the funeral. The news is a 24-hour funeral procession. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 3, I say, you are always on the funeral pyre. This is to make you aware of the urgency of life. But the news uses death to make you afraid, not to make you aware. I want to use the reality of death to make you vibrant. If you know that life is short, you won't waste it on the newspaper. You will spend every moment in love, in meditation, in dance. The news is for people who think they are going to live forever. They have so much time that they can waste it on the vomit of others. I say, you don't have time. The house is on fire. Get out of the house of the mind. Get out of the house of the news. Run to the garden of the soul. In meditation, the first and last freedom, I speak about the Gauri Shankar meditation. It is about light and breath. It is about moving from the dark valley of the mind to the peak of the spirit. You cannot reach the peak if you are carrying the heavy bag of the world's news. Drop the bag. As we move forward in this discourse, I want to thank everyone who has supported us. Every like, every share, every super thanks is a blow against the mental rape of the world. By supporting this channel, you are helping to create a sanity zone on the internet. And if you want to become a guardian of sanity, the join button is your way to commit. Our ebooks are also available to provide the manual for sanity in an insane world. Let's look at the witness again. The witness is like a man sitting on a hill, watching the traffic in the valley. He sees the cars, he sees the accidents, he sees the news, but he is not in the traffic. The media wants to pull you down into the traffic. They want you to be involved. I want you to be aloof. Not cold, but aloof. There is a difference. A cold man doesn't care. An aloof man cares, but he doesn't get identified. If you see someone suffering, you help them, but you don't become miserable yourself. If you become miserable, you have lost your power to help. The news makes you miserable. It doesn't make you compassionate. Compassion is a high energy. Misery is a low energy. The news drains your energy. Meditation builds your energy. Which one do you want? If you want the high energy of compassion, stop the low energy of the news. In the psychology of the esoteric, I explain that the higher bodies of man can only be activated when the lower bodies are at rest. If your mental body is constantly vibrating with the news, your spiritual body cannot wake up. It is like trying to see the reflection of the moon in a lake that is being hit by stones. The news is a constant shower of stones. Stop the stones. Let the lake be still. And then the moon will appear. The divine will appear. This is the esoteric psychology. It is the science of making the lake still. I am not a philosopher. I am a lake stiller. I am here to help you stop the ripples. but you must cooperate. You must stop throwing the stones yourself. And every time you check the news, you are throwing a stone into your own lake. Be kind to yourself. Stop the stones. If you are ready to be still, if you are ready to see the moon, then let's continue this meditation together. Subscribe and stay connected to this vibration. Use the join button to help us reach more seekers, and the super thanks to show your love. Our ebooks are the depth sounders for your lake. I have heard there was a master who had a disciple who was very interested in the world events. Every morning, the disciple would tell the master about the latest wars and inventions. One day the master said, "I have some news for you too." The disciple was excited. "What is it, master?" The master said, "Last night, the silence in my heart was so deep that I could hear the flowers growing on the other side of the world." The disciple said, "But master, that's not news. That's just a feeling." The master laughed. "What you call news is just the gossip of corpses. What I call news is the heartbeat of existence. Which one do you want to live with?" I ask you the same question. Which one do you want to live with? The gossip of corpses or the heartbeat of existence? The newspaper is full of corpses. Even if the people are still biologically alive, they are spiritually dead. Their actions are mechanical. Their words are borrowed. Their lives are empty. I want you to live with the living. The trees are living. The birds are living. The children are living. Your own silence is living. Focus on the living presence. In From Unconsciousness to Consciousness, I say that the greatest jump in history is not the moon landing. It is the jump from mechanical reaction to conscious response. The news is mechanical. It follows a pattern. It is a feedback loop of unconsciousness. Meditation is spontaneous. It is a breakthrough into the new. Every moment of meditation is a new edition of the universe. It is breaking news of the highest order. God has just happened in me. Silence has just exploded in my heart. Love has just conquered my ego. These are the headlines I want to see in your eyes. But to see these headlines, you must stop looking at the mental rape of the marketplace. You must reclaim your innocence. The news makes you cynical. It makes you clever. It makes you old. Innocence makes you childlike. It makes you vulnerable. It makes you divine. Unless you become like a child, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. The news is the anti-kingdom. It is the kingdom of the old and the cynical. Drop it. Become a child again. I am here to help you find that child. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 2, I talk about the difficulty of not being a follower. The news addict is a follower. He follows the trends, he follows the opinions, he follows the herd. I want you to be a leader, not of others but of yourself. Be the master of your own attention. We will look at the economics of attention and how to invest your psychic energy for the highest inner profit. We will look at how to use the super thanks of existence to enrich your soul. Stay with me. Stay silent. Stay in love. Attention is the only currency you have. In the marketplace, people are fighting for your money. In the world of the media, people are fighting for your attention. This is what I call the economics of the soul. Every time you give your attention to the news, you are spending your soul energy. And what are you getting in return? Are you getting peace? Are you getting wisdom? No. You are getting vomit. You are paying for garbage with the gold of your consciousness. This is a very bad bargain. A Zorba the Buddha is a person who knows the value of his attention. He spends it wisely. He spends it on beauty. He spends it on love. He spends it on the divine mystery. He does not waste a single moment on the trivial mental rape of the news. In Beyond Psychology, I say that man is a bridge. You can choose to look down at the mud or up at the stars. The news is the mud. Meditation is the stars. Why are you so fascinated by the mud? Because you have been told that the mud is reality and the stars are just dreams. I tell you, the mud is the dream. The mud is the Maya, the illusion. The stars are the reality. The silence is the reality. The love is the reality. The news is just a movie playing on the screen of your mind. And you have become so identified with the movie that you have forgotten that you are the screen. The screen is untouched by the movie. Whether the movie is a war or a romance, the screen remains pure, white, and silent. I want you to find the screen. This is what I call witnessing. If you are beginning to feel the purity of the screen within you, then you are ready for a serious inner investment. Click the join button and become part of our conscious economy. Your super thanks are a way to invest your energy back into the source, and our ebooks are the account books that will show you how to manage your psychic wealth. I have heard there was a very rich man who was a news maniac. He had 100 newspapers delivered to him every day. He had 10 radios and 5 televisions. He was constantly tracking everything. One day he went to a master and said, "Master, I have everything, but I have no peace. My head is always spinning." The master said, "I will buy all your news from you. For 1 hour, give me your attention. Don't look at any news. Don't think about the world. Just look at this flower." The rich man tried. For 10 minutes he was okay. Then he started wondering, did the stock market crash? Who won the game? What did the president say? He couldn't sit for 1 hour. He said, "Master, I am a slave. My attention is not mine." The master said, "Then your riches are useless. You are a beggar. You don't even own your own eyes." This is the state of most people. You don't own your own eyes. The media owns them. The mental rapists own them. They tell your eyes where to look, and your eyes follow like a dog on a leash. Reclaim your eyes. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 1, Buddha says, "Understand the mind, reach the source." To understand the mind, you must see how it is hooked. The news is the hook. It uses curiosity to lead you away from yourself. Curiosity is a beautiful thing if it is inward. It becomes inquiry. Curiosity is a dangerous thing if it is outward. It becomes gossip. The news is global gossip. I want you to move from gossip to inquiry. Instead of asking what is happening in Washington, ask what is happening in this me. Instead of asking who is the new leader of the country, ask who is the master of this body. This is the right inquiry. This is the inquiry that leads to enlightenment. If you are ready to start this inquiry, leave a comment. I am ready to look within. Let's create a movement of inquiry. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the inner updates. And for a structured guide to this inquiry, our ebooks on the art of living and dying are essential. Let's look at the psychology of the esoteric again. Man is a multi-storied building. The first floor is the physical. The second floor is the mental. The third floor is the emotional. The fourth floor is the spiritual. The news keeps you on the mental floor, and the mental floor is the most noisy. It is the floor where the mental rape happens. I want to take you to the spiritual floor. On that floor, there is no news. There is only presence. There is only aura. In From Unconsciousness to Consciousness, I explain that your aura is affected by what you consume. If you consume the news vomit, your aura becomes grey, dim, and heavy. You look like a walking cloud of depression. If you consume silence, if you consume meditation, if you consume beauty, your aura becomes bright, radiant, and golden. You become a magnet of joy. Have you noticed? When you meet a person who doesn't watch the news, they have a certain freshness in their eyes. They look clean. When you meet a person who is a news addict, they look dirty. Not physically, but mentally. They are carrying the dirt of the whole world in their heads. I want to give you a mental shower. This discourse is a mental shower. Wash away the vomit. Wash away the mental rape. Wash away the global trauma. Step out of the shower and feel the pure space that you are. This pure space is what Buddha calls nirvana. It is the blowing out of the ego flame that is fed by the news. If you are feeling this pure space growing within you, use the super things to share your gratitude. It helps us keep this shower running for everyone, and hit the join button to become a permanent member of our Clean Mind commune. Our ebooks are also there to provide the soap and water for your daily inner cleaning. Let's talk about trauma and empathy. The media says you must watch the news to be empathetic. You must see the suffering to care. This is a trick. The media does not give you empathy. It gives you compassion fatigue. It gives you emotional numbness. When you see 1,000 tragedies, your heart shuts down. It is a defense mechanism. You cannot handle so much pain, so you become unfeeling. The news makes you less human, not more. A man of meditation is more human because his heart is not congested with global trauma. Because he is silent, his heart is open and sensitive. He can feel the suffering of a single person more deeply than a news addict can feel the suffering of a whole nation. His empathy is real. It leads to action. The news addict's empathy is pseudo. It leads to anxiety. I want you to have real empathy. And real empathy starts with self-love. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 3, I say, love yourself and watch. If you love yourself, you will not rape your own mind with the news. You will protect yourself. You will give yourself the best food, the food of silence and joy. And once you are full of love, that love will naturally overflow to others. You won't need a newspaper to tell you who to help. Your own sensitivity will guide you. I have heard there was a monk who was walking through a city. He saw a man crying on a bench. The monk sat next to him and just held his hand. They sat in silence for an hour. The man stopped crying and said, "Thank you. You are the first person who didn't try to tell me the news of how I should feel, or tell me about worse things in the world. You just felt my pain." The monk said, "I have no news to give you. I only have my presence." Presence is the greatest gift. Presence is the only help. And presence is only possible when the marketplace is out of your head. In Beyond Psychology, I teach the technique of presence. It is about being here now. The news is always there then. If you are here now, you are awake. If you are there then, you are dreaming. The whole world is dreaming. The news is a collective dream. I am here to pinch you. Wake up. The sun is rising. The birds are singing. The flowers are blooming. This is the real news. Everything else is just a mental rape in the middle of a nightmare. If you are waking up, if you are feeling the pinch of my words, then share this video. Let's wake up the world together. And if you want to support this alarm clock of consciousness, the join button and the super thanks are your way to help. Our ebooks are also the manuals for awakening that will keep you from falling back asleep. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 4, I say, be fearless in whatever environment you may happen to be. The news creates cowards. It makes you afraid of the future, afraid of the other, afraid of life itself. Meditation creates warriors, not warriors who kill, but warriors who live, warriors of light. A warrior of light is not afraid of the news because he knows that his core is indestructible. He can walk through the fire and not be burned. He can watch the news and not be raped. But to reach that state, you must first withdraw. You must first build your inner fort. The fort is built with the stones of silence. We will look at how to design your life as a work of art. far away from the vomit factory of the media. We will look at how to be a sannyasin in the modern world, a person who celebrates life and ignores the news of death. Stay with me, stay silent, stay in love. Your life is a canvas, but you have allowed the media to be the painter. They have painted your life with the grey colors of fear, the red colors of anger, and the dark colors of despair. I want to take the brush back. I want you to be the painter. And for that, you must first whitewash the canvas. You must remove all the news paint that has been forced upon you. In the psychology of the esoteric, I say that man is a project. You are not finished. You are a possibility. But the news wants to make you a product. A product is finished, dead, and ready for consumption. A product believes what it is told. A product fears what it is told to fear. I want you to be a possibility. A possibility is open. A possibility is new. To be new, you must stop the old. And the news is the oldest thing in the world. It is the repetition of the same human stupidity for 10,000 years. If you have seen one day of news, you have seen it all. Why keep watching? It is like watching a movie that you have already seen 1,000 times. You know the ending. More war, more greed, more misery. Break the loop. Start a new movie. A movie of your own awakening. If you are ready to be the director of your own life, if you are ready to paint your own canvas, then subscribe and join our creative commune. Hit the join button and let's create a work of art out of our lives. Your super thanks are a direct contribution to this new art of living. And our ebooks are the master classes that will teach you the techniques of inner painting. I have heard there was an artist who went to a mountain to paint. He stayed there for a month. He had no news, no contact with the world. When he came back, his friends asked him, "Did you hear about the revolution? Did you hear about the new law?" The artist showed them his canvas. It was a painting of a single leaf, but it was so vibrant, so full of life, that anyone who looked at it felt a deep peace. The artist said, "This leaf is the only revolution I found, and it is more powerful than all your laws." This artist found the truth. The truth is not in the mass movements. The truth is in the individual awakening. The media focuses on the mass. I focus on you, because the mass has no soul. Only the individual has a soul, and the individual can only find his soul when he steps out of the mental rape of the mass media. In From Unconsciousness to Consciousness, I explain that the collective mind is a form of hypnosis. The news is the mantra of that hypnosis. They repeat the same fears, the same values, the same lies, until you start believing they are your own. This is the mental rape. Your own intelligence is being bypassed. Your own third eye is being closed. I want to open your third eye. And the first step is to de-hypnotize yourself. How to de-hypnotize? Start by doubting. Doubt the news. Doubt the experts. Doubt the leaders. In the West, they say faith is a virtue. I say doubt is a virtue. Doubt is the sign of an active intelligence. Faith is the sign of a sleeping mind. If you doubt the news, you are starting to wake up. If you are starting to see that it is all someone else's vomit, then the hypnosis is breaking. And once the hypnosis breaks, you are free. If you are feeling the freedom of doubt, the clarity of inquiry, then leave a comment. I am waking up from the dream. Share this video to pinch others out of their hypnosis, and use the join button and super thanks to support this de-hypnosis center. Our ebooks on the psychology of the Buddhas are the perfect guide for this journey from sleep to awakening. Let's look at the witness in the marketplace again. In Beyond Psychology, I use the phrase, be in the world, but not of it. Imagine you are a secret agent of the divine. You walk in the world, you go to work, you might even see a newspaper on a table. But you are a secret agent. You don't belong to the marketplace. You belong to the source. You watch the news, but you don't take it seriously. You see it as a comedy of errors. You see the politicians as clowns and the news anchors as storytellers. When you stop taking the world seriously, it loses its power to rape your mind. You can laugh at the news, and laughter is a great disinfectant. It kills the bacteria of fear. If you can laugh at the vomit, you have conquered it. I want to see more laughter in the world. But the news is anti-laughter. It is serious. It is grave. I say, laughter is the highest meditation. In meditation, the first and last freedom, I speak about the laughter meditation. Just laughing for no reason. If you laugh for 15 minutes every morning, you won't need the newspaper. Your own joy will be the headlines for the whole day. Try it. Stop reading the news and start laughing. You will be much more healthy, much more beautiful, and much more enlightened. If you are laughing with me right now, if you feel the lightness of being, then use the super thanks to share your joy. It helps us keep this laughter factory going. And hit the join button to become a permanent member of our Laughing Buddha Club. Our ebooks are also there to show you the method in the madness. Let's talk about trauma and global consciousness. The media says we are creating a global consciousness by sharing the news. I say you are creating a global mental illness. Sharing trauma is not consciousness. Sharing fear is not consciousness. Consciousness is shared in silence. Consciousness is shared in love. Consciousness is shared in meditation. 1,000 people meditating together create a global wave of peace. 1,000 people watching the news together create a global wave of anxiety. Which one is better for the planet? The news is a poison for the collective soul. I want to give you the antidote. The antidote is zero thinking. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 2, I talk about the zero space. It is the space where there are no thoughts, no news, no I. In that zero space, you are one with the universe. You are one with the wholeness. The news keeps you separate. It keeps you small. I want to make you vast. I want you to be as vast as the sky. Does the sky care about the news? Does the sky care about who won the election? No. The sky just is. Be like the sky. Let the clouds of news pass through you, but don't let them stain you. Remain the vast blue silence. This is the discipline of transcendence. It is the discipline of being the sky. We will look at how to protect your sky from the pollution of the marketplace. We will look at how to be a spiritual rebel in a world of news slaves. Stay with me. Stay silent. Stay in love. This blue silence I speak of is not just a passive thing, a mere absence of noise. It is a positive presence, a radiant energy that has been suppressed by the constant interference of the world. In the book From Unconsciousness to Consciousness, I explore how your consciousness is like a mirror that has been covered with the soot of centuries. The newspaper, the television, the digital notifications, these are the daily applications of more soot. You have become so accustomed to the darkness, so used to the grey film over your eyes, that you have forgotten what it is like to see the sun. You have forgotten the aha that comes when you look at a leaf and don't see a thing but a living, breathing part of your own being. The media wants you to be serious. They want you to think that the world's problems are so grave that you have no right to be happy. This is a very subtle mental rape. By making you feel guilty for your own joy, they destroy your only hope of helping the world. Because only a joyful person can be a healing presence. A person who is heavy with the vomit of global news is just another burden on the earth. He is adding his own grayness to the grayness of the crowd. I want you to be a rainbow. I want you to have all the colors of life. Zorba's dance and Buddha's silence. But to be a rainbow, you must first clear the clouds of information. Information is not knowledge. Information is dead. Knowledge is living. Knowledge comes from knowing, and knowing comes from being in the present. If you are starting to feel the first rays of this rainbow consciousness, then I ask you to like this video. It is a simple gesture, but it tells the algorithm of this modern marketplace that there is a demand for light, not just for the shadows of the news. And if you feel a resonance in your heart, leave a comment about which headline of your own inner silence you have discovered today. In the psychology of the esoteric, I explain that man's energy is often stuck in the lower chakras because those centers are fed by fear and survival. The news is a specialized diet for the lower chakras. It keeps you in a state of fight or flight. It keeps your adrenaline pumping. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. This is why it is so addictive. It gives you a high, but it is a low quality high. It is a high of tension, not a high of relaxation. I want to take your energy up to the heart center, to the third eye, to the Sahasrar, the crown chakra. But to move up, you must stop the constant stimulation of the lower centers. You must stop the vomit intake. You must protect your inner environment. Think about environmental protection. People are worried about the pollution of the air, the pollution of the water, but what about the pollution of the mind? The news is a toxic spill in your consciousness. It is a mental rape of your purity. And just as you wouldn't drink poisoned water, you should not drink poisoned information. If you are ready to clean the lake of your mind, then our community is here for you. Use the join button to become a permanent member of our conscious ecology. Your super thanks are a direct way to support our efforts to keep this space free from the commercial rape that defines the rest of the media. And if you need a filter for your thoughts, our ebooks on meditation and the esoteric path are the perfect tools to help you purify your perception. I have heard there was a politician who was so addicted to his own fame that he had 10 secretaries whose only job was to tell him what people were saying about him in the newspapers. He lived in a house made of mirrors and newspapers. One day he went to a master and said, "Master, I am the most important man in the country, but I feel like a hollow shell. Every time I read a bad review, I want to die. Every time I read a good review, I am afraid of losing it. What should I do?" The master took a bucket of water and threw it over the politician. The politician was shocked. "Why did you do that?" The master said, "I wanted to see if there was a man under all that paper." The water washed away the newspaper, but it seems there is nothing left. You have become a man made of news. You have no self left. This is the tragedy of the modern man. You have become a collection of headlines. You have no core. You have no isness. I want to give you back your isness. But to find it, you must be willing to be unimportant. The news makes you feel important by giving you opinion. I have an opinion on the war. I have an opinion on the economy. Your opinion gives your ego a sense of weight. I say, drop the weight. Be weightless. Be no opinion. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 4, I talk about the warrior of the way. A warrior is someone who can stand alone against the multitude of foes. The foes are not other people. The foes are the temptations of the mind. And the greatest temptation is the desire to know what doesn't matter. It takes great courage to say, "I don't know and I don't care." This is the fearlessness of the Buddha. When you are fearless, you are no longer a victim of mental rape. You are no longer a consumer of vomit. You are a creator. What are you creating? You are creating your own fragrance. You are creating your own music. As you listen to me, do you feel a certain music arising in your silence? That music is your true nature. It has nothing to do with the discard of the world. If you want to help us keep this inner music playing for the whole world, please click that join button. And for those who have felt a deep shift in their being during these talks, the super thanks is a way to share the abundance of your heart. Our ebooks are the sheet music for your soul's symphony. Let's talk about trauma and global solidarity. The media says by watching the news, you are standing in solidarity with the victims. I tell you, this is a lie. Standing in solidarity with a victim by being miserable yourself is just adding another victim to the count. It is like seeing someone in a hole and jumping in next to them. Now there are two people in the hole. If you want to help the man in the hole, you must stay out of it. You must be on firm ground. You must have a rope. The firm ground is meditation. The rope is your awareness. The news wants to pull you into the hole of trauma. It wants to rape your peace so that you are as miserable as everyone else. This is called normalization. I don't want you to be normal. I want you to be abnormal in the sense of being transcendent. In Beyond Psychology, I explain that the healthy person is always a misfit in a sick society. And a society that consumes vomit for breakfast is a very sick society. Be a misfit. Be the one who is happy while the world is crying over the news. People will call you heartless. Let them. Their heart is just a bleeding wound that helps no one. Your heart is a sun that gives light and warmth. Which one is better? If you choose to be the sun, then subscribe and let's grow this solar system of consciousness. Share this video with those who are tired of being normal and miserable. Use the join button to support our misfit commune and the super thanks to show your appreciation for this radical perspective. Our ebooks are the manuals for misfits that will help you thrive in your aloneness. I see people who are constantly checking their phones for updates. They are like people who keep opening the oven to see if the cake is ready. The cake will never be ready. The news is a process of uncooking. It keeps the world in a raw, bloody, and indigestible state. I want to cook your consciousness. I want to take you through the fire of witnessing until you are done, until you are a master. A master doesn't need updates. A master is the update. He is always fresh, always new, always breaking news to himself. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 1, Buddha talks about the Arhat, the one who has attained the fruit of saintship. An arhat is someone who is pure and spotless in behavior. This purity is not a moral code, it is a vibration. When you stop eating the vomit, your behavior naturally becomes pure. You are no longer acting out of the fear and greed that the news has injected into you. You act out of love, and love is the only revolution. Everything else is just a coup d'etat. One group of vomit eaters replacing another. I want a revolution of love, and it starts with self-love. If you love yourself, you will say, "My mind is a temple. I will not allow the mental rapists of the media to enter. I will not allow the marketplace to scream in my sanctuary." This no is the beginning of godliness. In from unconsciousness to consciousness, I say that no is the protective cell of the yes. You say no to the world so that you can say a total yes to yourself. If you are saying yes to yourself today, if you are saying yes to this journey of awakening, then leave a comment yes. Let the world hear your yes. Use the join button and the super thanks to support our collective yes, and check out our ebooks to find more ways to strengthen your yes in a world of no. I have heard there was a dog who found a bone that was completely dry and had no meat on it. But the dog was so hungry that he chewed on the bone until his own gums started bleeding. He tasted the blood and thought, "This is a very juicy bone." He was drinking his own blood, thinking it was coming from the bone. This is the news addict. You are chewing on the dry bone of the newspaper, and the blood you taste is your own life energy. You think the news is exciting, but it is only your own nervous system being raped and excited. Stop chewing the bone. The bone has no juice. Life has the juice. Silence has the juice. But you must drop the bone to taste the nectar. In the Discipline of Transcendence, Volume 2, I talk about the blowing out of the flame, nirvana. The news is the fuel for the flame of the ego. It gives the ego something to talk about, something to worry about, something to be right about. I told you the economy would crash. I knew this politician was a crook. The ego loves being right, but being right is a very poor substitute for being real. I want you to be real. When you are real, you don't care if you are right or wrong. You are just a mirror. A mirror doesn't care if it reflects a beautiful face or an ugly one. It remains a mirror. The news is an ugly face. being reflected in your mind. Don't become the face, remain the mirror. If you are finding the mirror within you, if you are starting to see the world as a lila, a play of shadows, then use the super thanks to celebrate your clarity. It helps us keep this mirror cleaning service free for everyone, and hit the join button to become a permanent part of our mirror commune. Our ebooks are the polish you need for your inner mirror. Let's talk about the mental rape and propaganda of the social media. They have created a feedback loop where you only see what you already believe. This is the ultimate mental rape because it destroys even the possibility of a new thought. You are trapped in a digital prison of your own making. I want to hack your prison. I am a hacker of the soul. I am sending these words like a virus of awareness into your digital world. Break out of the loop. Stop reading the vomit of people who agree with you. Stop reading the vomit of people who disagree with you. Stop reading vomit altogether. Read the stars. Read the silence. Read your own heart. This is the only reading that will save you. In meditation, the first and last freedom, I give the Om meditation. It is about the sound of the universe. When you chant Om, you are tuning into the broadcast of existence. The broadcast of existence is always positive. It is always celebratory. It is always eternal. The broadcast of the media is always negative. It is always fearful. It is always temporary. Which station do you want to listen to? If you want to tune into the Om station, then subscribe and stay tuned to this channel. Share this video to help others change their frequency. Use the join button and the super thanks to support our spiritual broadcasting. And our ebooks are the user guides for your inner radio. Let's look at the witness again. The witness is like a man standing on a bridge, watching the river flow below. He sees the news logs, the vomit debris, the trauma swirls. But he is on the bridge. He is not in the water. The media wants to rape your attention so that you fall off the bridge and into the mud. Hold on to the railing of your breath. The breath is the railing of the bridge. As long as you are aware of your breath, you are on the bridge. You are safe. Try it now. Take a deep breath. Feel the air enter. Feel the air leave. Is there any news in your breath? Is there any vomit in your breath? No. It is pure. It is fresh. It is the Holy Spirit moving through you. Stay with the breath. Let the world scream. Let the newspapers bleed. You stay with the breath. This is the discipline of transcendence. It is the discipline of being on the bridge. In the next part, we will explore the alchemy of silence and how to turn the lead of the news into the gold of meditation. We will look at the Zen of information and how to live in the digital marketplace without being raped by it. Stay with me, stay silent, stay in love. I am always here. In the gaps between your thoughts, in the silence between your breaths, I am there. I am your own future self, calling you back to the source. Don't ignore the call. The source is much more interesting than the news. The source is you, and you are the greatest mystery in the universe. Explore the mystery. Ignore the vomit. Be real. Be free. Be aware. I will see you in the next part of our journey into the unknown.